You. So as I was saying, it has an effect on your GI tract. It is essentially a GI irritant, and it can cause a lot of problems such as melena, increased acidity, and so on and so forth. Nausea, vomiting, वो पूरा भी होता with aspirin. Then coming to its serious effects, there is no therapeutic, no effect, significant effect at therapeutic doses. In toxic doses, though, you can say that at low doses it has an antiplatelet effect, but it is not truly affecting the CVS per se. It will affect your thrombocytes. It will affect your platelets. It will not affect your cardiovascular system per se. It is good for your cardiovascular system, but it does not have any effect on your blood vessels or your heart as such. Okay? Indirect effect. So when you are talking about aspirin, it is cardioprotective without affecting the cardiovascular system. If you understand the logic here, it is not causing any effect on the heart or blood vessels, but it is affecting the how should I put it? It is affecting the platelets that might trigger atherosclerosis and that might trigger angina. तो आप antiplatelet effect हो रहा है वहां पर without affecting the CVS as such. It is cardioprotective though. If I give a very toxic dose, it can decrease circulation of blood. Okay, vasomotor center will get depressed, and as a result, circulation can decrease. But that is at a very high dose, toxic doses. Okay, toxic doses depress vasomotor center, decreases circulation of blood. BP will also fall to a certain degree. Right. Other than that, it has immunological effects as well. At a very high doses, it will suppress antigen antibody reactions. That is why you are using it as an anti-inflammatory agent. Okay. It will inhibit antibody production, antigen antibody aggregation, and antigen induced histamine release. So all of those will come under immunological effects. Immunological effects. Main one is inhibition of antigen antibody reactions. Then uric acid secretion or uric acid excretion specifically. Now, if you give aspirin about 1 to 2 grams per day, this will increase urate levels. Okay. Essentially, what will happen is urate retention will occur. Urate, which is the urate crystals, जो है, which are being formed in your body, their secretion from the distal tubules. So the nephrons which are present in your body, they have distal tubules, and those distal tubules are responsible for secreting. Secretion in this sense means secretions by your nephron, meaning it is going into your urine. So urate crystals will normally be secreted into your urine. This aspirin will interfere with that secretion, and as a result, what will happen is uric acid will start getting accumulated, and it will lead to uricosuria. ठीक है. If you give a especially high dose, अगर आप 5 grams तक दे रहे, 5 grams per day तक दे रहे, then urate excretion might occur. ठीक है. Reabsorption वहां पर inhibit हो जाता. तो dose dependent effect है यहाँ पर. If you give it at 1 to 2 grams per day, it'll cause uric acid retention or uric acid levels increase in blood because your distal tubules are not able to secrete uric acid or urate specifically. Whereas if you give a very high dose, let us suppose you give more than 5 grams per day, in this scenario what will happen is reabsorption will be inhibited. The reabsorption of uric acid is inhibited. Now keep in mind there is a little bit of uric acid that is reabsorbed by your body. Okay? Most of it will be excreted out, some will be reabsorbed back into your body in order to maintain the pH of the blood. That reabsorption, that small amount that is being reabsorbed, that also gets excreted, and as a result you will see uricosuria, increased amount of uric acid in the urine. ठीक है. So dose dependent effect है upon uric acid excretion. अगर 1 to 2 grams per day तो urate levels will go down. Urate levels you'll not find it in the urine, you'll find more amount in blood. At more than 5 grams per day, most of the uric acid will be excreted out because reabsorption is not occurring, and uricosuriya occurs in that situation. Then इसके अलावा और क्या इफेक्ट है? It has an effect on blood. As such, antiplatelet effect specifically. Even if you give a small dose of aspirin, it will irreversibly inhibit platelet cyclooxygenase. So platelet cyclooxygenase बल्कि एक enzyme रहता, and that platelet level पे जब cyclooxygenase काम करता, it will cause aggregation. That platelet aggregation is inhibited by low doses of aspirin. As a result, thromboxane A2 will not be synthesized by platelets. Thromboxane A2 is the next successor to platelet aggregation. You need thromboxane A2 to be formed for platelet aggregation to work effectively. Even if you give a single dose of aspirin, it will inhibit TXA2 synthesis. ठीक है? Aspirin specifically is a non irreversible platelet inhibitor. Other NSAIDs will generally be reversible inhibitors, reversible in COX inhibitors and reversible antiplatelet effect. But aspirin will have an irreversible effect. So until unless new platelets are being formed, those old platelets will not work properly. Then there are a few local effects as well. Salicylic acid, or in general aspirin has acetyl salicylic acid. Okay, so chemical name acetyl salicylic acid hai. That has a keratolytic effect. Okay, keratolytic effect is something, it will soften your skin. Okay, it will cause desquamation. जो conified epithelium रहता, that can get separated. Sometimes these agents will soften the skin, and sometimes what will happen is the certain layers of skin will get separated. कभी कभी mild keratolytic agents आपके moisturizers में use करते, ठीक है, very small dose. तो salicylates को use कर सकते कभी कभी. It will have a very very weak antiseptic and antifungal effect or fungistatic effect, but almost negligible. Those are the local effects of aspirin. It has a very mild antiseptic and fungistatic effect. If you apply it on broken skin, generally irritation will occur. Okay? And it also has a keratolytic effect. Now, as such, those are all the pharmacological effects of aspirin, a lot of pharmacological effects. These effects will be somewhat similar in all NSAIDs, okay? So, आप एक बार ये एक याद रख लिया aspirin का, तो more or less most of the NSAIDs will have similar function. The only difference amongst NSAIDs that will occur is mechanism of action will be same, pharmacological action will be pretty much the same. If changes will come in doses, their contraindications, their side effects, do drug dependent side effects are there, and sometimes a few pharmacological effects will be different, but most of them mechanism of action, because it is same, pharmacological effects will also be somewhat similar, almost 80% similar. Okay. Now, this drug aspirin gets metabolized by your liver, and T half is about 3 to 5 hours. And elimination is also dose dependent. If you give a small dose of aspirin, generally it will follow first order kinetics, meaning as you increase the dose of the drug or concentration of the drug, excretion rate will also increase. If you give a very high dose of aspirin, though, it will follow zero order kinetics. Zero order kinetics meaning a constant amount of the drug will be excreted out rather than constant, concentration. Meaning even if you let's suppose they have a drug with zero order kinetics, even if you increase the dose of the drug, the amount of drug that is being excreted out of your body will stay constant. At a low dose or high dose it will not matter at zero order kinetics. First order kinetics में directly proportional रहता है, जैसा concentration बढ़ाते जाते वैसा excretion rate भी बढ़ते जाता. Okay, generally because of this, because higher doses will follow zero order kinetics, their T half will be longer. So anti-inflammatory doses, they will last for a much longer time. Their T half is about 12 hours. Normal doses जो 300 600 grams का है या low doses है 75 grams का, their T half is about 3 to 5 hours. But very high doses will have T half about 12 hours. ठीक है. Now, from all the pharmacological effects, it is pretty much easy to gauge the side effects that can occur with aspirin. Obviously, it will cause epigastric distress, nausea, vomiting, peptic ulcers can occur. It can precipitate bronchial asthma. Okay? This bronchial asthma is occurring because a lot of leukotrienes will be formed. As I told you, because COX is being inhibited, most of arachidonic acid will get converted into leukotrienes. Leukotrienes is a stimulator of your um, rather than stimulator, it is better to put that it is a asthmatic agent. If there is a lot of leukotrienes present in your lungs, it can cause bronchoconstriction and it can trigger bronchial asthma. It will cause nephrotoxicity. Aspirin can cause hepatotoxicity. uh, it can delay the onset of labor. Okay? Prostaglandins have an effect on enhancing labor. Depending on when you are giving prostaglandins, it can act as a labor enhancer, meaning not the pain. It will make sure that the fetus is coming out of your body easily, parturition occurs easily. नहीं तो if you give it mid pregnancy, the same thing will happen, but it will work as an abortifacient in that scenario. It will cause abortion. So depending on where you are using prostaglandin, अलग effect रहता. Now if you use aspirin in a pregnant lady or specifically in a lady who is going into labor, उनके अंदर prostaglandin level कम होने की वजह से their labor will be prolonged. ठीक है, labor will be delayed. All right. uh, Other than that, it can also cause something called salicylism, sorry. So salicylism is a toxic effect. इसको salicylate intoxication भी बोलते हैं. Whenever you are giving toxic doses of aspirin, it can lead to salicylate toxicity. The effects of salicylism is vertigo, headache, tinnitus, ringing in the ear ringing, thirst, dehydration and dizziness. ठीक है, that is all the effects of salicylism. आपको acute salicylate toxicity को reverse करना पड़ता. This toxicity, जो acute salicylic toxicity है, that can be accidental. It is very common in children as well. अगर children को बहुत high dose of aspirin दे दिए, it can be fatal. ठीक है, तो generally what will happen is when you give a very high dose of aspirin, instead of antipyretic effect, the patient will have hyperpyrexia. Fever बहुत बढ़ जाता. They will go over 105 degrees Fahrenheit or over 41 degrees centigrade. They will have severe dehydration. There will be delirium, restlessness, vomiting, hallucinations. The patient might have tremors and convulsions. Their cardiovascular system will collapse. And generally, respiratory failure will occur. And that respiratory failure will be so severe that they might die. Okay? Because of acid base balance and because of respiratory failure. So to counter this, you will have to perform gastric lavage immediately. Generally, because aspirin is taken orally, one of the best ways through which you can counter salicylism or you can counter salicylate poisoning or aspirin poisoning is by giving gastric lavage. Gastric lavage में आप एक fluid डालते हैं, diluent fluid. If you have an antidote, that is good. You will put it in the patient's GI tract and you will suck that fluid out. This is so that whatever drug is unabsorbed into the body, that that drug will be removed. Okay, let us suppose someone has taken 15 grams of aspirin, very high dose, so toxic dose essentially. तो आप क्या कर रहे हैं, before the drug gets a chance to get absorbed completely, let us suppose in your body at one time a very high dose is being absorbed, which is causing toxic effects to be displayed by the patient. अब immediately you know that the patient has toxicity, तो उसको reverse करने के लिए आप gastric lavage कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. Another thing, aspirin is contraindicated in a few conditions. For example, pregnancy. अगर आप surgery कर रहे हैं especially, तो 1 week before performing the surgery, stop taking any NSAID, specifically aspirin, because it will have an antiplatelet effect. When you are performing surgery, you don't want antiplatelet effect. The patient will start bleeding from every orifice अगर antiplatelet effect है तो. uh, PUD, liver disease, if the patient has any bleeding problems or viral fever, you should not use aspirin in viral fever, especially in children. ठीक है, viral fever में the patient's liver will get severely affected, and when you give a drug like aspirin, even more damage to your liver can occur. That is why generally viral fever में especially in children वो नहीं देते. Okay, their body will not be able to handle that kind of pressure. Okay. Then so this, that is about the non-selective NSAIDs. Now you'll have a lot of classes under non-selective NSAIDs. All of them will work by the same mechanism. All of them will have more or less the same effect as well. Then we have two more classes in this NSAIDs. That is preferential COX-2 inhibitors and selective COX-2 inhibitors. So as you can understand by the term, preferential COX-2 inhibitors का मतलब ये है most of the drug will preferably inhibit only COX-2. So for example, let us suppose there are 100 molecules of COX-1 and 100 molecules of COX-2, COX-1 and 100 molecules of COX-2. Imagine one molecule of drug can inhibit one molecule of the enzyme. Okay, example I'm giving. Let us suppose one molecule of drug can inhibit only one molecule of the enzyme. Ideally, when you are giving an NSAID, you would want only COX-2 to be inhibited and not COX-1. Preferential COX-2 inhibitors कैसे रहते हैं? Most of the drugs, so let us suppose I have 100 molecules of the drug. Most of these, let's suppose somewhat 70 to 80 molecules, they will inhibit COX-2. The rest 20 will inhibit COX-1. They are preferring COX-2 over COX-1. Okay. Selective COX-2 inhibitors will only inhibit COX-2. Okay. Hence the name selective. They are selecting COX-2 over COX-1. Preferential COX-2 inhibitors will inhibit mostly COX-2, a little bit of COX-1 as well. Preferential COX-2 inhibitors में आता diclofenac, aceclofenac, etodolac, nimesulide, even though it is banned nowadays, nimesulide was a preferential COX-2 inhibitor. Meloxicam, ये पूरे drugs preferential COX-2 inhibitors रहते और selective COX-2 inhibitors में celecoxib आता. It has other side effects, that is why it is not used as much, some severe side effects. I'll discuss about that. Celecoxib, पैराकॉक्सिब, इटोरिकॉक्सिब, ये पूरे कॉक्सिब्स जो है वो सेलेक्टिव COX-2 inhibitors में आते हैं. Now if we talk specifically about diclofenac and all, let's suppose preferential COX-2 inhibitor की बात करें अब, diclofenac is a very common drug. Okay. An improvement of diclofenac was aceclofenac. Later on it was developed, it was an improvement over diclofenac. Now as such, diclofenac will have an analgesic, antipyretic and anti-inflammatory effect, and its tissue penetration is pretty good. Okay. It retains good concentration even in your synovial fluid, so you can use it in conditions such as osteoarthritis. And adverse effects are also mild, they are not as severe, but it has the same problem as other NSAIDs, wherein it will cause gastric irritation. If you take diclofenac, especially patients who already have, let's suppose, acidity or things like that, उनके अंदर gastric stimulation and gastric irritation ज़्यादा होता. That is why aceclofenac was developed. It is much more gastric friendly and it is longer lasting when compared to diclofenac as well. Okay, you can use both of them in RA, you can use them in OA, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis. आप musculoskeletal pain में use कर सकते हैं, acute musculoskeletal pain में use कर सकते हैं, जैसा muscle spasm हो रहा या things like that. Celecoxib, valdecoxib, paracoxib, ये पूरे जो selective COX-2 inhibitors है, these will have less GI effects, almost no GI effects altogether, anti-platelet, anti-inflammatory activity, anti-pyretic activity, and act as an analgesic. Okay. They do not inhibit platelet aggregation as well because they are not affecting COX-1. COX-1 is responsible for platelet aggregation, which is helpful for your body. यहाँ पर because you are only inhibiting COX-2, that platelets are not getting affected altogether. The disadvantage with these drugs though is that it will increase cardiovascular problems, specifically thrombotic events. Okay? Because it is not having any effect on platelet aggregation, technically it will also have a thrombotic event. It can cause a thrombotic event. It is increasing the risk of myocardial infarction, the risk of MI. Okay. It can increase the risk of stroke, especially rofecoxib and valdecoxib. They have been withdrawn from the market specifically because of these. उन लोग के बहुत ज़्यादा cardiovascular problems थे. And celecoxib specifically can cause hypertension and edema. So you get the point here. Celecoxib. ओनली इन स्पेशल केसेस आप ये सेलेक्टिव COX-2 इनहिबिटर दे सकते. ठीक है. इफ द पेशेंट इज नॉट हैविंग एनी cardiovascular problems and if they are genuinely getting a problem with non-selective or preferential COX-1 inhibitors जब COX-2 देते, it is completely contraindicated in patients who have cardiovascular problems. नहीं दे सकते लोगों के अंदर. ठीक है. सेलेकॉक्सिब इसमें भी यूज करते हैं, डिस्मेनोरिया में भी यूज कर सकते हैं कभी कभी। ठीक है। Monitor the patient's body weight, renal impairment, and monitor the patient's vitals when you are giving any NSAID for the matter. ठीक है। They can have any platelet aggregation, blood thinning effect, or they can have severe nephrotoxicity if you are not monitoring them. Okay. And if you're giving something like a selective COX-2 inhibitor, monitor their cardiovascular symptoms, especially their blood pressure. And in case that you are giving selective COX-2 inhibitor, restrict their sodium intake. ठीक है। Better to restrict the sodium intake because already उनका blood pressure थोड़ा high रहता. If you give sodium intake which is normal, it can cause even more problems. चलो, so that completes our NSAIDs. In the next class, we'll start sedatives